She does not love you. She only loves the way you make her feel that emotion. You thought you were special. You believed your kindness, your loyalty, and your sacrifices would mean something. But the more you gave, the weaker your presence became. You became an easy man to approach, an easy man to satisfy, and an easy man to ignore. At that moment, in her eyes, you were no longer a man. You became merely a tool. Schopenhauer did not hate women. He simply saw them clearly. He called women a trick of nature, a biological illusion designed to enslave men through beauty, desire, and emotional dependence. From the way she tilts her head to her soft voice, from the moment she holds your hand to the tears she sheds, none of this is manipulation. It is instinct. Nature does not care about your feelings. And once you see this pattern, you can never unsee it. That high pedestal on which you placed her never truly existed. The love you believe was unconditional was in fact a transaction. That does not mean she is evil. It simply means she is human. Just as men have the instinct to protect, provide, and pursue, women have the instinct to seduce, secure stability, and survive. But when you ignore this brutal truth, you hand your power over to her. This is not a story about hatred. This is a story about seeing clearly, a story about awakening, because a man blind to female nature will suffer forever under the illusion of love. And this is the truth no one tells you. You see her across the room, red lips, delicate features, softly glowing skin. Your heart pounds and your mind races. You think she is destiny. But that feeling, that addictive shiver, is not love. It is nature. Instinct. Biology has hijacked your brain. Schopenhauer did not romanticize desire. He stripped it naked. To him, beauty was not a sacred quality or a connection of souls. It was bait, carefully crafted by nature to lure you in and make you serve. He wrote that the will to live uses the illusion of beauty to ensure its own continuation. In other words, that flawless skin, that hypnotic voice, that perfect curve of a smile is not for you. It is not her. Nature is merely using her as a vessel to carry out its plan. That aching, desperate pull you feel when you see a beautiful woman is not divine. It is not romantic. It is a trap, an ancient program etched into your genes, commanding you to chase, to serve, to surrender, even if it costs you everything. Schopenhauer observed a deeply uncomfortable fact. What men call love is often desire in disguise. You did not fall for her as a person. You fell for what she represents. Youth, fertility, softness, validation, and she does not even have to try. Her smile feels personal, but it is generic. Her charm seems unique, but it is biological. This is not deception, it is design. Let us talk about a man named Ethan. Ethan was a good man, loyal, kind, emotionally ready to commit. He met a woman who seemed perfect. He opened doors for her, listened to every word she said, and sent her messages every morning. For a while she seemed to glow beside him. He thought he had found his soulmate. But slowly things changed. She grew distant. Her responses faded. She became unimpressed. The more he gave, the less she valued him. Why? Because Ethan did not understand nature. He believed attraction was about being nice. But nature does not reward kindness. Nature rewards strength, unpredictability, uncertainty, and power. Ethan was playing a game without knowing the rules. Modern men are raised on fantasies, Disney love stories, romantic comedies, Instagram captions about soulmates. But Schopenhauer believed all of this was a dangerous illusion. Love is a magnificent deception of the species, he wrote. Love makes us believe we are choosing freely, when in truth we are slaves of the species. You are not falling in love. You are falling into programming, that magnetic pull toward her body, that sudden feeling that you would die for her. That is not your choice. It is the will to live acting through you, turning you into a servant of reproduction. And her beauty, her sweetness are tools, survival mechanisms, not conscious manipulation, but unconscious evolutionary outcomes. Schopenhauer said a woman's charm is nature's mask, a mask worn briefly to capture a man, and when the illusion fades, reality arrives harshly. Here lies the tragedy. Men today mistake attention for affection, desire for destiny. They believe being chosen by a beautiful woman means they are valuable, but it only means they are useful to her needs, her fears, her survival. And the moment you are no longer useful, the attraction disappears. Beauty attracts, but it does not commit. Beauty owes you no loyalty. It guarantees no depth. Schopenhauer saw this with brutal clarity. Man lives in a dream. Woman is part of that dream. But the dream is not real. If you think this is just old philosophy, think again. Every time you obsess over her beauty, every time you place her on a pedestal, every time you imagine a future based on emotion, you fall into the trap Schopenhauer warned about. You stop being a subject and become a means to an end. You work harder, dress better, earn more, all to gain her attention. She does not even have to ask. Nature does it for her. Her beauty speaks louder than words, and your blind ancient instincts obey without question. So what must you do? Wake up. Separate your value from her attention. Stop treating desire like destiny. Schopenhauer never said love was impossible. He said unexamined love is dangerous. When you understand what lies beneath your desire, you reclaim your power. You stop chasing illusions. You stop serving instinct. You begin to see clearly. You may admire her beauty. You may respect her nature. But you must never worship the illusion. The moment you do, you become prey. Why do men fall? Why do they kneel? Not just because of beauty, but because of the illusion behind it. The answer is not simple. It is not just biology. It is psychology, evolution, and centuries of romantic delusion combined, controlling men until they become puppets. Let us break it down. From the moment you are born, the world begins to program you. Disney shows you a princess in distress. Hollywood places a halo over her. Every song, every fairy tale, every tragic romance repeats the same lie. If you love her enough, it will be enough. This is where the trap begins. Idealization. You are not seeing her. You are seeing a fantasy wearing her face. Your brain fills in the blanks. She is kind. She is pure. She understands me. But that is not her reality. It is your projection. You have turned a woman into a goddess. And what does a man do to a goddess? He worships her, even when she does not deserve it. Psychologists call this projective idealization. It means you did not fall in love with who she is, but with who you needed her to be. A refuge from a harsh world, a cure for loneliness, a fantasy to quiet inner chaos. But the moment you project a fantasy onto someone, you can no longer see them clearly. You ignore red flags, rationalize manipulation, forgive coldness. Because if the goddess has flaws, the illusion collapses, and most men would rather bleed than wake up. But psychology is not the whole story. There is something deeper, older, written into our DNA. Evolution designed men to provide, pursue, impress, and sacrifice. Why? Because access to women once meant survival. For most of human history, 80% of women reproduced, but only 40% of men did. That means over half of men were biologically erased. So men evolved to compete, signal, and serve. That is why modern men bend morals, work 60 hours a week, and buy luxuries they cannot afford, to gain what their ancestors fought and died for, her attention. But here is the trap. What was once essential for survival now enslaves men in a modern world overflowing with beauty but starved of meaning. Add to biology the modern religion of romance. We no longer believe in God, but we believe in the one true love. We believe there is a perfect woman who will heal us, complete us, love us unconditionally. But that belief is not noble. It is dangerous. The moment you believe she is destiny, you stop protecting yourself. You forgive betrayal, accept disrespect, abandon yourself to keep her. And when she leaves or reveals her nature, you do not just lose a partner, you lose your identity. That is not love, it is self-erasure. And it happens to millions of men every day. Now let us discuss the third layer of the trap. Culture. Modern media worships women. Women are portrayed as prizes, healers, independent ideals, who need no man but somehow find one who sacrifices everything. Films never show her flaws, songs never question her motives, advertisements present her as the gatekeeper to happiness. And men? A man who does not get the girl is a loser, a man who walks away is cold, a man who questions female nature is insecure. This is how media rewires male desire. Away from strength, purpose, and brotherhood toward validation through female approval. This is not mere manipulation, it is mass hypnosis, and most men are too deep in the dream to notice. Think this is theory, look at history. Napoleon Bonaparte conquered half of Europe and became a slave to Josephine. Despite her affairs, her coldness, he wrote her love letters endlessly. He went to war with her name on his lips. He chased her ghost, lost battles and lost reason. A man who made kings kneel was destroyed by one woman, not because she was evil, but because he projected power onto beauty. He forgot that even the most beautiful rose has thorns. Let us be clear. Women are not demons, not monsters. They respond to nature just like you. The problem is when men do not understand this dance, when they misread female behavior through fantasy, they destroy themselves, chasing a love that never existed. They give and give until only an empty shell remains. So how do you escape? Stop worshipping. Stop projecting. Kill the illusion before it kills you. See her beauty, but do not see salvation. Hear her words, but do not hear truth. Accept her nature, but do not build your life around it. When you do this, the spell breaks. You regain your mind, rebuild instinct. You become a man of clarity in a world drunk on delusion. Schopenhauer said man can only be fully himself when alone. When it comes to desire, that solitude, that clarity, that brutal awareness may be the only thing that saves you. Arthur Schopenhauer did not believe in romantic love, at least not the way you were taught. He did not write about soulmates. He did not fantasize about unconditional love. Instead, he tore off the mask and exposed the cold machinery behind the most intoxicating emotion on earth. According to him, love is the ultimate deception of the will. Man believes he is pursuing happiness, but he is merely a tool. A tool for what? For nature, for biology, for the survival of the species, not for individual happiness. Let us go deeper. At the center of Schopenhauer's philosophy is the concept of the will, an invisible, blind, ruthless force that drives all life. You do not choose your desires. You do not choose your ideas. You do not choose your attractions. You do not even choose your goals. You are compelled. The will lives beneath your thoughts, beneath your character. It does not care about your dreams. It cares only about reproduction. And love, that beautiful, poetic, painful experience, Schopenhauer called it nature's cunning trick, a hallucination designed to trap men and women into serving the will. You are not falling in love. You're being pushed. You think you fell for her personality, her laughter, her vibe. But Schopenhauer says no. You fell because the will saw potential genes, because your unconscious calculated her reproductive fitness, because facial symmetry triggered ancient instincts, because her scent activated a part of your brain older than civilization. It was not romance. It was biology dressed as magic. And the cruelest part? The illusion feels real. It hijacks your thoughts. You write poetry, make promises, fight for her. But from the will's perspective, you are just an animal executing code. Ever notice how irrational love makes you? How you cannot stop thinking about her? How her voice, her validation, her absence controls you? That is not weakness, it is design. The man in love is never free. Schopenhauer wrote he is moved, not by choice, but by command. You do not love her because she is special. You love her because nature needs you. because without obsessive love, the species would not survive. So evolution created a drug powerful enough to override logic, ambition, even dignity. We call it love, but it is nature's leash. Schopenhauer is infamous for calling women the weaker sex. Modern readers cry misogyny, but miss the point. He was not mocking women. He was describing nature's distribution of power. Men are physically stronger. Women are biologically more valuable because they carry life. So nature made men expendable, hunters, warriors, builders, and women preservers, choosers, defenders, and strategists. This is not about good or evil. It is not about fairness. It is about function. When Schopenhauer said women serve the species, he did not mean they are consciously malicious. He meant they are strategically designed. They attract, test, withdraw, not by choice, but because it works, because it filters weakness, because it ensures only the strongest men pass on genes. So when she pulls away, when you chase and lose frame, when she tests you with beauty, it is not cruelty, it is evolution. Romantic attachment is dangerous. That is why Schopenhauer warned men away from love. He saw what it does. It blinds, breaks, consumes. Men sacrifice kingdoms for women they never demanded, abandon missions, betray friends, destroy themselves in the name of love. But here is the truth. A man is only free where desire does not reach. Romantic desire, especially idealized and projected desire, is the strongest chain because it does not feel like a chain. It feels like salvation until it is too late. The noble lie, the brutal truth is this: love as we know it is not sacred, it is not divine, it is not a reward for being good. It is a system, a program that uses emotion to enforce biology. And once you see it, once you understand that butterflies, obsession, heartbreak are all functions of a trap, you stop being a victim. You can still feel love, still appreciate beauty, but you will never be enslaved by it again. Most men worship lies their entire lives. They chase women for meaning, sacrifice themselves on the altar of romance, hoping to be chosen. But when you understand Schopenhauer, when you see love as design instead of blessing, you do not hate women. You do not withdraw from life. You become free. You see her beauty without believing it. You feel desire without obeying it. You understand the game and choose your own path. That is the beginning of masculine clarity, power, and peace. Marriage halves your rights and doubles your duties, Schopenhauer once said with a dry smile. Not because he hated love, but because he understood it. And now you understand too. You were fed lies by movies, songs, and men who did not know better. You were told your greatest purpose was to win her heart, be chosen, be loved, be enough for her. But the truth is this: you were never meant to chase her. You were meant to become the man who does not beg, the man who does not break, the man who cannot be owned. When you realize what Schopenhauer saw, that love is not sacred but strategic, the spell begins to weaken. Her flirtatious smiles, her silent mystery, her distance all lose power, not because you are bitter, not because you stopped feeling, but because you finally saw the mechanism. You stop treating emotion as command and start reading it as signal. You stop confusing attraction with truth. You stop believing your value is measured by her attention. You were not the moth, you were the flame. Your whole life you were taught to orbit her, impress her, make her the center of your story. But what if she was never the center? What if you were? The masculine mind builds empires when undistracted. It writes books, fights wars, shapes reality. But under the hypnosis of beauty, it collapses. Like Samson on Delilah's lap, like kings who burned kingdoms for a kiss. They were not weak men, they were blinded men. Redirection is power. The greatest men in history did not suppress desire, they redirected it. Leonardo da Vinci never married. Nietzsche died alone. Schopenhauer walked life unchained from romantic leashes, which is why he saw the world with brutal clarity. This is not a call to reject love. It is a call to no longer need it. Chase purpose over pleasure, freedom over comfort, respect over validation. What does it matter if she chooses you when you have not chosen yourself? Every man has a fire inside him. Most extinguish it through rejection, heartbreak, or exhaustion from trying to be enough for someone else. The awakened man feeds that fire. He uses solitude as fuel, discomfort as sharpening stone, disappointment as direction. He does not ask why she does not love me. He asks, why did I forget my mission? When your mission is clear, everything aligns. Women notice. People respect you, and most importantly, you respect yourself. Do not hate her for what nature made her. She is instinct. She is choice. She is not the prize. She is the test. Your enemy is not her beauty. Your enemy is your blindness to it, your belief that she owes you something for your goodness. She does not. Nature is not fair. It is strategic. And your freedom begins the moment you stop demanding fairness and start building strength. You were not born to be understood. You were born to be formidable. Schopenhauer saw this before most men dared to think it. The more intelligent a man is, the less he is understood by women. You were not born to be liked. You were born to be unshakable. The man who does not move when she blinks differently, who does not collapse when she pulls away, who knows himself so deeply he does not need to prove it, that man becomes untouchable, not because he is cold, but because he is clear. Here is the part they do not tell you. She was not thinking about your feelings. She was watching your frame, your energy, your posture, your strength. Nature does not choose kindness. Nature chooses strength. If you become the man you were meant to be, you will not need to chase women. They will orbit you as planets orbit gravity. Because deep down, nature reveres power. Remember this. She was never the prize. She was the mirror, the test, the illusion. You, rooted in truth, driven by purpose, are the prize. Let them call you cold. Let them say you do not understand love. Let them mock your distance. Smile. You know what they do not. Love exists, but not the way they think. Freedom is the higher form of love. Truth is stronger than beauty. And once you see clearly, you never fall again. Once the illusion cracks, something unsettling happens. The world goes quiet. Not peaceful quiet, an empty ringing silence, the kind that follows an explosion, because for the first time you are no longer chasing, you are no longer hoping, you are no longer projecting meaning onto beauty, and without that chase, without that hunger, you feel exposed. Many men mistake this feeling for loss. They think they have lost love, innocence, warmth. In truth, they have lost intoxication. Withdrawal always hurts. This is the stage no one warns you about, the phase after awakening, where the fantasy is dead but purpose has not yet replaced it, where desire no longer commands you but clarity has not yet learned to speak. This is where weak men turn back. They crawl toward the illusion again. They reopen old messages. They romanticize pain. They tell themselves maybe she was different, maybe this time it would be real. And the trap snaps shut again. But the man who holds still here, who resists the urge to anesthetize himself with longing, begins to feel something else rising. Not excitement, not romance, weight, gravity, a sense of mass returning to his spine. For years your energy flowed outward, toward her, toward validation, toward approval. Now it collapses inward, and that inward collapse is the birth of strength. You begin to see women differently, not with bitterness, not with contempt, but with proportion. You notice patterns you once ignored, how interest spikes when you pull away, how distance creates respect, how mystery weighs more than availability. You no longer ask why this works. You understand that it does. Nature has always preferred what is scarce, grounded, self-directed. The same laws that govern stars and storms govern attraction. This is where most men misunderstand the lesson. They think the answer is to become cruel, cold, calculated. They imitate silence without substance, distance without direction. They play games because they think the game is the power. It is not. Games are what men play when they have nothing real to build. True power comes from being occupied, not pretending to be. A man with a mission does not need tactics. His absence is not strategic. It is natural. He is busy shaping something that matters more than being wanted. This is what women feel before they understand it. A man who does not orbit them disturbs their internal compass. Not because he ignores them, but because he is anchored elsewhere. This is the inversion. When you stop chasing beauty, beauty begins to chase meaning, and meaning only respects structure. Schopenhauer understood this better than most. He knew that withdrawal from illusion was not nihilism, it was discipline. He chose solitude not because he feared women, but because he feared self-deception more. He knew that the man who cannot sit alone without fantasy is not free. He is merely between addictions. So the question becomes, what do you build in the absence of illusion? This is where the story turns dangerous, because clarity without direction becomes arrogance. Strength without ethics becomes brutality. Purpose without restraint becomes obsession. The awakened man must now choose what kind of force he will be. The world does not need more bitter men who see manipulation everywhere. That is just another fantasy wearing darker clothes. The world needs men who understand desire without being governed by it, who can look at beauty without kneeling, who can feel attraction without surrendering identity. This requires a brutal internal audit. Why did you want her approval so badly? Why did being chosen feel like salvation? What were you escaping when you imagined love would fix you? Until you answer these questions, you are not awake. You are merely resentful. Most men were not chasing women. They were chasing relief. Relief from insignificance, from directionlessness, from the quiet suspicion that their lives lacked weight. Romance gave them a story where they mattered, where their pain was meaningful, where sacrifice was noble. When that story collapses, they feel naked. But here is the truth no one tells you. Meaning cannot be given. It must be generated. And it is generated through responsibility, creation, and self-imposed difficulty. This is why disciplined men appear attractive without trying. Their lives have friction, resistance, shape. They are carrying something heavy, and gravity responds to gravity. At this stage, women stop being central characters. They become side effects, reflections, sometimes rewards, sometimes tests, never gods. And something else happens. You stop confusing intensity with intimacy, drama with depth, emotional chaos with connection. You realize that most chemistry is anxiety mixed with hope. You stop craving the emotional roller coaster because you finally have ground under your feet. This terrifies some women, not because you are threatening, but because you are no longer reactive. Your mood is not easily hijacked. Your direction does not shift with approval or rejection. You are not trying to win. You are not trying to be chosen. You are choosing. This is the point where weak men accuse you of becoming heartless, cold, detached. They need you to stay in the fantasy because your clarity exposes their chains. Misery loves company, especially romantic misery. But clarity is not cruelty. Detachment is not indifference. It is simply refusing to assign sacred meaning where none exists. You can still love, but love becomes a consequence, not a pursuit. It emerges from alignment, not hunger. It grows alongside purpose, not instead of it. And if it leaves, you do not collapse, because nothing essential was outsourced. This is the difference between a man and a supplicant. The awakened man understands that attraction is not proof of worth. Rejection is not proof of failure. Both are signals, not verdicts. He reads them without dramatizing them. He also understands something darker, that power attracts attention, and attention attracts temptation. The same clarity that frees you can corrupt you if you mistake leverage for identity. Many men fall here. They replace worship with dominance, submission with control. They become addicted to the feeling of being wanted instead of being needed. This is just another cage, gilded this time. True freedom is quieter. It is waking up without urgency. It is working without applause. It is choosing solitude without loneliness. It is knowing that your value does not fluctuate with desire. Schopenhauer warned that most men never escape the will. They simply trade one form of slavery for another, romance for status, validation for admiration. The will is clever. It wears many masks. The only real rebellion is self-mastery, and self-mastery is boring to those addicted to chaos. This is why the awakened man often walks alone for a long time. Not because no one wants him, but because very few can walk beside someone who is not seeking completion. Most relationships are contracts between two deficiencies, two people agreeing not to look too closely at each other's emptiness. When you are no longer empty, those contracts feel dishonest. So you wait, not passively, actively, building, refining, strengthening, and when someone enters your life, they are not there to save you. They are there to share terrain, and if they leave, the terrain remains. This is what the movies will never show you. The hero does not get the girl and live happily ever after. He outgrows the need for the story entirely. He becomes someone whose life does not revolve around being witnessed. That is the real ending, not applause, not romance, not conquest. Clarity, and clarity once earned is permanent. You can fall again, but you will not fall blindly. You can love again, but you will not disappear. You can desire again, but you will not kneel. Because now you know the difference between gravity and illusion, and you choose where you stand.